Yeah, take it away, Paul.
I see the Catalyst Fund 9 has been pushed back to the 26th of this month. Do you know why?
I haven't seen full details yet, no, but there was something that came up in the voting app that was technically challenging enough, and with the availability of staff to work on it, they thought they'd have to push it back a couple of weeks. And because it's young, it's an experiment. Things may break is the kind of the the mantra that goes on every town hall. There's just an expectation that some things, may slip, schedules may slip because of nothing is solid and mature yet. So the voting app is the most crucial part. They need to get that right so that there's fair voting, fair representation. And so this hiccup has just meant we've got a 2-week delay. So yeah, it doesn't really impact anything other than that payouts are delayed, the voting is delayed, and so there is knock-on effects within projects. But and obviously, if you're looking to participate as a voter or a proposal assessor, it does knock you back as well. But hopefully, there won't be too much fallout from it. And the vote normally is it's a 2-week window for the voting, I think. So that will. I don't think they'll reduce any of the subsequent phases. They'll keep everything the same length. They'll just mean that we've just moved back 2 weeks. And so actually, probably because we were working on kind of a quarterly cycle for the funds, and now they've introduced a 2-week gap between funds. And now with this knockback, there'll be a good month extra. So we won't. So there'll be like a 3 months. And then the 3 months and 2 weeks, and then now there'll be a 4-month cycle. So it could be an indicator that things are slowing down a little, and that the pace has just got too much. Because we're talking about a fund that started with 200,000 ADA, is now distributing 16 million ADA to 800 different projects. So there's a lot more work, a lot more wheels spinning to get this thing rolling each time. And funnily enough, the volume of staff hasn't increased massively, so its resourcing is stretched.
I was going to say, I'm picking that obviously, like all industries, and we're definitely in that boat in New Zealand, that there is a lack of technicians per se to work on all these different projects.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty out there. They're just they're attracted towards the sure thing, the safe thing, the reliable income from the big corporate still. So pulling them through into what's effectively a experimental funding platform based on a cryptocurrency, and so there's so many cutting edge things in there that even among the developer community, you won't necessarily see it as a sure thing. So there'll be people hesitating to jump into learning a new language like Haskell or Plutus, to adopt it as a platform of choice for building on. And so even just coming in to join the team that are working on the voting system behind it is, you've got to be very attractive for that. And there's no point in splurging a whole load on salaries on high-paid techs and devs if there's going to be churn then, where they just move on. So I think the employment policy of IOG has been heavily within the community. So you'll often find people have been particularly active within Project Catalyst to start with, have ended up being asked to join the actual paid team. And Danny Crypto Faye is who runs a state pool. He was a PhD student writing papers on decentralized currencies and things like that, and he's been pulled in and now is sort of heading up Project Catalyst. He's the face of Project Catalyst at the moment. So yeah, it's an organic, self-growing thing. So yeah, we'll take some knockbacks in the scheduling for the sake of getting the right people in the right place at the right time. But yes, they are. That team around Project Catalyst are a little under resourced, so they could really do with some fresh hires, I feel.
Just another question, looking into your crystal ball in another year's time, where will Fluid 7 be?
So Fluid 7, we're hoping to have migrated into a blockchain business as opposed to a simple Web 2, Web 3 rather than Web 2. And the goal has always been and has been for a long time to actually build our own products that we are supporting and selling, rather than relying on third-party products that we're or platforms that we're learning to then build out for clients. So the desire is to get a decent level of revenue from products that we own that we can then use to increase the amount of time we can put into developing our own products rather than maintaining other people's, which is what we do, the bulk of the time these days. And everybody in Fluid 7 is very much on board with that plan, so it will happen. It's just a case of I don't want to jeopardize anybody's salaries in the meantime, so we're taking it slow. I'm not throwing everyone straight into blockchain, that's for sure. We've got lots of traditional web development work that we're still churning through. It's not on the technical end of things, but it's not. We don't have a Haskell developer on board yet, and that will be a great day when I can hire my first Haskell developer. I look forward to that.
What do they do, Haskell Developer? Because obviously, I'm thinking most of us wouldn't know exactly what that would be.
Yeah. So any technology has a language upon which it is based. So the web is based on HTML, and along came augmentations to that, cascading style sheets, CSS, and JavaScript was sort of always being developed in parallel. And then you had server-side languages like PHP or Python, Java, and so blockchain, which is a new technology, has got its own specific language that the IOG team spec'd out. So Haskell, it had existed; it's been around for a long, long time, but it's got a more robust way of writing and of creating provably secure or provably valid code. And it's been heavily used by the financial industry in a very small niche. So banks often use Haskell as their underlying technology or language. And so IOG chose Cardano to be built on Haskell, but they created their own iteration of that language, subset of it called Plutus. And Plutus is what the smart contracts are written in. So you've got you're trying to attract Haskell developers in who have an understanding of the underlying language, and then you're teaching them Plutus, which is an IOG or Cardano specific variation on it, and that goes on to be used in building out the dApps. So Sunday Swap is built with Haskell, and Milkominer and Wing Riders and Muesli Swap and MinSwap, they're all using Haskell developers to build out their Plutus applications. And there are far fewer number of Plutus developers in the world than there are Plutus apps. So it's hard to get hold of an experienced one, and so we're having to grow them from within. So the Gimbal Labs team, which I've talked about a lot, they run a Plutus project-based learning program where if you are a developer and want to learn, switch over from having known PHP into learning Plutus, then you can get involved in their program of learning, work on actual projects. So you're getting functional language training in theory, and then functional use of the application of the language in an application, which is the best way to learn really for anything. And so bit of a fringe discussion, but I like it. So how's everyone feeling about Cardano? It was interesting to hear that little take at the end of Lucas from Tamsin. saying she came away from that call feeling a little negative or down in the dumps about crypto. What's the general feelings here? It'd be great to hear from Sonia. Sonia's here still. Great to hear Sonia, or Hella's dropped off again. But yeah, go Paul.
For us, it's long term. I'm thinking it will be the same for pretty much hopefully everyone else here. So it will rise, it will fall. Hopefully, it will rise in the future. Say it's gone up for us since we've dabbled in it. So so we're happy enough.
Yeah, and it's kind of staggering, and it's an indicator of how muted and rational and solid-headed Luca is. In that, at one point in this little talk, he was saying that Ethereum over the past months has actually gone up 80%. Or yeah, 80% growth, restored to its of its previous places. So that's a massively positive metric, in any regard. And in actual percentage increase, I don't know what it is, maybe 15% or something over the past month. And there's no other assets that do that kind of leap and jump. So in amongst this news that you've got this asset, this highly valuable large cap asset that's increased in value by 15% in the space of a month, and you can still come in thinking, it's a bit depressing because it's not really doing what it should do. It's like in reality, it's exceeding all expectations for any tech, particularly financial services one. So crypto is an extremely high potential place, and the indicators that were being shown out at the beginning of Luca's demo, showing the what influences the stock market in terms of pricing and movements, based on the news coming out of principally the US government, their treasury. What they say influences, in terms of inflation, influences all other aspects, and how positive and negative the market flows for that subsequent period. And they'll have a 0.3% increase, whereas in crypto you get 15% off the back of that. And so we are still correlated, just we have massive swings, and that's where the opportunity lies in crypto. And long term, we're so early in the adoption of everything still, in so many of these different projects. It was interesting. I was in a call the other day. Someone was making the point. I don't know how early we are in Cardano anymore, and actually we might be settling down and stabilizing, and there is room for growth still, obviously, but it may not be anywhere like the returns we've seen so far. So if you're in it for a massive high yield ecosystem, this might not be where you want to be. You might want to choose something more risky. And I thought that was an interesting take. But within that, you've got to realize that Cardano is the layer one. So on top of that, you've got a whole load of tech being built out that has that huge potential for growth still. And so you can pick up these smaller projects that are not to the point of actually become viable yet, but you can get in now, get some tokens, and then just watch them skyrocket if they do go. And so that's what I like to look out for. I like to have the bulk of my holdings in safe, stable investments. We all talked about property. We've talked about property before, and also have some mid-range investments that do well but are a bit more risky, and then lots of a small amount of high risk ones that have lots of potential, but don't have that same stability or security. And all my crypto sits in that bracket really at the moment. I do treat ADA as an outlier, probably trust it too much, and just see it as a long-term asset to hold regardless. But that's, at some point you've got to peg your cloak to a tree, and this is mine. ADA is the tree I've pegged myself to.
Those risky ones that you're talking about, where do you find them, or is it just basically the tokens that you get um, from Drip?
Some of them are those drip tokens, but really it's about, so with you, Paul, now exposing yourself to Project Catalyst, you'll be seeing a lot of early days projects launching. You'll probably be catching videos of the proposals that you're looking at, finding out who the teams are, what they've done before, what they're doing next, and so you're likely to come across something that you think is a real interest, something that's got real value, the way it's described, and you think the team maybe has some decent people on board that can actually deliver on what they're promising, and so you'll give that proposal a positive vote, and then you'll be thinking, maybe there's some potential there, and if they're, a aggressive forward-thinking team, they may release their own token, native token on Cardano, and at that point it's like, okay, cool, I can get hold of some of these tokens, and you've been able to evaluate them from very, very early days, and that's that's kind of like investing in a business before it's gone to market, before it's even launched a product, before a float on the stock exchange. All of these sort of jump points in a company's line are effectively replicated out in crypto as well. So some of the projects in Catalyst that I've seen, that some have got involved with, some I haven't, but the most the one that's most obvious to me has been Endmaker, because you saw the developer Patrick Tobler working with one of the second largest NFT projects on Cardano, which was unsigned algorithms. They had made it into the town halls. These two guys were being interviewed by the head of Project Catalyst at the time, Dol Garbash. So it's like, okay, set up and take note of these two, see what they're doing. And then Patrick Tobler went on to create his NFT distribution platform. It's like, oh, okay, he's thinking about building tools around this emerging industry. And then the NFT market exploded. Millions flowed into it. Value of NFTs rocketed, and he was building the tools to service this industry, and was doing things slow and steady and measured, and thinking about things and building a good team around him. So it's like, okay, I've seen it from the origins. I can make a judgment call. I like the way the guy talks, and so I'll stick some money into his token and see if that goes anywhere. And so far, the result has been a 6 times increase, 4.5, 5 times increase, I think, of what I put in. So that's huge, and we're still in. That's gone from the peak of the market. Well, not quite the peak. We started on the way down already, but middle of the market to the bottom. I've still seen that increase in value of that particular token because of the success and the growth of that part of the ecosystem. So even though the crypto industry can drop 75% in 6 months, within that there are still things that are growing faster than that rate of decrease. So if you've transferred some of you've farmed your fiat in the fiat world, put it into a small tiny amount into a high growth token, then you could see it turn around for you like Endmaker has. And there are projects popped out of Project Catalyst that you've seen all the time, and that's one of the things I really like about Project Catalyst, is that it forces people to present their projects publicly because they're going for a public vote, and so you're seeing people put their best foot forward, talking about their strongest assets, not hiding things because they're scared of competition. They're being more open because they want to win funding, and they're open to collaboration. And so that, to me, is breeding a really healthy ground for growth that you don't necessarily get in the typical VC world, where everything's put behind closed doors as soon as it is, to protect your intellectual property. Don't share it with anyone. This is much more about, let's open source everything. Let's get as much code as we can, distribute it amongst people, and we'll all grow together. So that way you get to see projects start from scratch, and make a judgment call on them. So hopefully that will you'll start feeding some of your proposal likes and preferences back to us, and we can go and evaluate them ourselves as well.
Definitely.
So any other questions that came out of this morning's talk, or stuff that you're looking at the last week? That'd be great to hear. I'll drop into the chat a little bit I did find, because the Mark Cuban article was very damaging. Well, it's not, because we get it all the time, but it could have been, perceived as damaging to Cardano, because he really didn't know what he was talking about. And the result of that is that, he kind of baited the Cardano community into interacting with him. And so by doing that, he got lots of fire sent his way, and he realized the size of the community. But then also there were rational voices actually trying to engage with him on to have a good conversation. And one of the guys that did that most successfully was Mickey Watson from World Mobile Token. He was able to put some questions to Mark, try to explain what was going on, answer Mark's, pointing at the flaws, and actually had a really good dialogue in the end. So let me pull up the chat and drop that link in there if I've got it still. I think just dropped it in Lucas' call, so I might not have it. Yeah, there we go. And so that conversation really shows you, and it's an incredible world that we live in. We're living in a world where the negotiations, the discussions, the behind closed doors conversations that would happen between Silicon Valley's elite in the past are now happening on Twitter. We've got Mark Cuban, I presume he's a billionaire, talking to Mickey Watson, who's an emerging strength in the telecoms industry that's adopted blockchain technology, and so is likely to do very well. He's picked the right technology as far as I can see. He's open to collaborations, and so there you've got conversation happening in public that you wouldn't just never have seen before. And so you can make a call now. It's a strong indicator for World Mobile Token, which again is a good one you can get hold of and watch its value grow. Or you can look at, if Mark Cuban is now looking at potentially changing his perspective or opinion on Cardano, then that's a strong indicator for Cardano itself, for ADA itself, but also for anything that Mark Cuban looks at within the Cardano ecosystem. So he's got his preferred things that he likes to look at to invest in. And I'm sure there's ways of following what he does look at. And so it could be, a good indicator. Well, let's see where someone who is getting the best people in the space, answering them as tentatively as possible to get him to look at their work. And he'll be doing his due diligence on them. And so you can piggyback on his due diligence. Now, I'm not saying he's an oracle or an authority, but he certainly is. He's wealthy. So whether that's due to his wisdom or his nous, I'm not sure, because I don't know the guy. But he's certainly got a high profile, and people will be working for him that do that sort of work. Let me get it up live. That'll be interesting to see.
See, the delegation pool has attracted a few more people as well.
Yeah. We had a whale turn up, which was very exciting. And since then, we've had several more delegates come in too. So the sort of growth of the pool, steady and slow, is happening, which is very nice to see. So I'll come to that in a second. So this is that conversation thread. You can go right back to, I'm screen sharing, so it should be another chat window, another window in Discord that you can find my screen share on. And that's Mickey Watson, Mr. Telecoms, he is on Twitter. who CEO of World Mobile Token, engaging with Mark Cuban's original tweet, which was pulling holes in World Mobile Token's plans for growth. And so it's a technical dialogue about how mobile technology is rolled out in developing nations, what the tokenomics behind the infrastructure they're building is going to be, but still gives you, really good insight into the way that an investor thinks and the way that a technology provider answers. And it's been held up by the IOG team as a really good example of how to engage with, large investors like that. So John O'Connor, who's guy heads up the African work IOG does, he's commended Mickey for his work on that too. So it's really nice to see some support coming from all these different pots. Now, changing tack, let's have a look at how the stake pool's doing. So this is Fluid Pool as seen on pool.pm. I'll drop that link into the chat as well. And so explaining the metrics a little bit here. So at the top, you've got this this logo, which is the Cardano logo, and it's you can see some of the dots are grey, some of the dots are white, and it actually sort of acts like a clock. So as the epoch, the Cardano epoch, which is a 5-day period, winds down, you'll see this roll round like a clock does. It goes more grey towards the end of the epoch. Then you've got the ticker for the pool, which is how you find them in the wallet when you're choosing to delegate with the pool. So our ticker is Fluid. The business is Fluid7, but the ticker for the pool is Fluid Pool. We've got a link through to the website for the pool there as well. So if you can't ever find the website, you can just go to pool.pm, search for Fluid, and we're on there, and you can click through to find it. This is the number of delegators in the pool. So that's you, me, and 52 others, or 51 others. This is the total amount of ADA staked. So my goal was to hit 1 million in the first year. So we're very close. I'm pleased if we don't get any more than that now. That'd still be very, very happy. But actually 70% of that or so has come from a particular schedule we're in at the moment. So that is going to drop off. We're hitting our 4th epoch at the moment. And so in about 8 or 9 days time, we'll have a whole load of people move, delegators and ADA move to the next one in the rotation. But hopefully shortly after that, I'll be able to get a new load of 1 million ADA investment put in place. So that will bring us back up to the regular block production schedule again. So yeah, we've made our target for the year. I'm pretty, happy to say that. It'd be nice to see it just tick over the 1 million exactly, but this is good so far. And then these are the stats on the pool. So with that much delegation, we are 1.4% saturated. Saturation is the level set on a pool, the hard limit on the pool, that a single pool shouldn't have more than 64 million ADA in that delegated to that pool. Because after that point, the rewards start to diminish for all the delegators. So if you're in a pool that's hit 70 million, then you're getting less rewards than in pools with less in. So it's time to switch pools. And that's a way to spread the delegation of ADA out, to increase the number of people running stake pools, to try and increase the decentralization so that the chain can never be manipulated by a single entity. So if we've got people in the US and in Europe and in Africa and Asia, it's much harder for any particular entity to control the chain. And so we want to keep the limit of each pool down and make more pools be built out in other with people operating it in other areas of the world. And that's a way to increase our resiliency to external threat factors. And so your saturation level is important to look at when you're looking to delegate to a pool. If it's at 99%, then you're okay delegating to them still. But if that creeps over 100%, then it's time to jump definitely, because you'll be losing your rewards. The margin fee here, 2.9% on Fluid Pool, that's the variable percentage that a pool operator can set in terms of how much of the portion of the rewards they take for the pool versus how much is distributed out amongst all the delegators. So I set it at 2.9%. Don't have any plans to change it. Some people operate with a lower variable margin and all the way down to 0%. And I just don't see that as sustainable long term. So I've set it at a reasonable amount where I can fulfill the mission, which is to give to charity, as well as pay for the infrastructure in the pool. And that's what that percentage will go towards. And in reality, it makes, a really minuscule effect on your rewards. 2.9% of the amount delegated. So, we're talking about a percentage of the rewards that you're giving back to the pool owner to run their pool operation versus the amount that's been distributed. The real problem figure actually is this 340 ADA fixed cost, because that is a hard limit set by the chain, and because the price of ADA has increased, when it was set, it was a reasonable figure, 340 ADA, translated into enough dollars to sort of pay for a pool. But actually that figure now has gone up a little too high. At the moment, it's still all right because the market crashed, but when we were at peak, 340 ADA just to spend on pool costs was too much. So really, those rewards should be going to delegators, in my opinion now. So that's been talked about being reduced, and when that does, then I'll be bringing my fixed cost down, but leaving my variable fee at the same, is the plan. And then the other important figure to look at is this 40k pledge. So that's how much the pool operator, in this case me, has got staked to pledged to the pool, which means that I can't spend those funds, I can't move it elsewhere easily. And if I do, then you all know about it in advance. And so you can, if an operator removes all the pledge from their pool, it's an indicator that they're either tight on cash, so they're maybe not got the money they need to run their pool properly, or they're on the way out and they're not interested in that. They're not going to be maintaining the pool or taking a continued interest in the Cardano blockchain. So probably time to look around as well. And then we've got all the delegators. So that's the owner wallet, which is that 40k pledge is in that. You'll see the rewards. So 32 ADA rewards have gone into that pool. At the moment, it's not an accurate figure over the whole time, but that's some of the rewards that have gone in at the moment. And then we've got all our delegators. So here's the whale, our 700,000 ADA rich individual. No idea who they are, but they're following this rotation around with this extra small pool alliance. And so they're delegated to us at the moment. And in fact, all these grey ones, these are the guys who've joined most recently. And so they're part of the XSP rotation. And actually, some of them have been in from earlier, so that's not quite the same anymore. But the color coding on these epochs numbers is based on how long you've been with the pool. So I think it's kind of along the lines of how bright the text is the longer you've been in the pool. So that 290 had been delegating from way back. We only launched at 288. So that's probably one of my wallets, to be honest. It's got more ADA in, but I think I just received a payment for some contribution to the ecosystem. So either rewards from delegating, from voting, or from not from processing, but from referring and things like that. I was in a good conversation yesterday about all the ways you can earn from the Cardano ecosystem just by spending some time in it. And you can get your rewards for voting. So if you're registered to vote and you vote in Fund 9, which has been pushed back a couple of weeks, like Paul was saying, then you can earn your voter rewards. If you are an assessment of the proposals, like Paul is, you can get your proposal assessment rewards. If you tell people about Project Catalyst and introduce them to it, and they list you as a referrer, they put in a proposal, they win the funding, then you can get a portion of rewards given to you for being a referrer. And so that's just 3 ways off the top of my head about how to earn money from Project Catalyst alone, not putting any money in, just putting a bit of time and attention and actually getting rewarded for it. So it really is a new economy, a new ecosystem that they're building to try and create ways for people to earn a living from it, just by partaking in it like you would partaking in the fiat world. You can actually partake in crypto and earn a living. Is the goal. So any questions on any of that?
Well, a different one. You kindly mentioned the cexplorer.io. How do you use that? I looked up obviously Fluid 7 on that, and I think it said you had a luck rate of 113%, which is pretty good.
Yeah. So C Explorer is the new version of Ada Tools or Ada Pools. Not sure which one it is, but they've rewritten it from scratch, and so C Explorer is the latest and greatest version of it. And they are a Cardano Explorer. So you're seeing on here lots of blockchain activity, and also most importantly the pools listing. So on the dashboard you see this list of pools, and under here you can see all the pools and filter them to find the pool that you are looking at. And so this is a good place to sort of quickly assess which pools, some of those metrics I just talked about, which pools are maybe good to delegate to. And this is Explorer's got some new features that are quite exciting. So you can see here this tag, maybe you can't because it's quite small. You can see here this tag against, that monitor has just died again. Don't know why it does that. So I'm looking at a black screen. I'm just going to try and restart it. But yes, that operator, the pool operator on this page, okay, I'm back, has got a single tag on it. Can you see that still? All sharing. And
Yeah,
that's,
sure.
say again?
Yeah, you are sharing.
I am good. So see that single thing, you can hover over and it tells you exactly what that means. The pool operator probably operates one pool, only one pool. And that's important in terms of picking a stake pool, because a single pool means that the more single pools we have, that means the more decentralized the network is and the support of that network. And that's important for all the reasons I was just talking about. It can't be coerced, can't be manipulated if we are fully decentralized. So lots of operators is the goal. Now it's highlighting them as single pool operators because you have the alternatives, which are multi-pool operators. And these typically are guys who've either been in the ecosystem from the very beginning, so built up saturation on one pool, and so they've split to a second pool, and that one's filled up as well, and they've split to a second pool. So an example of that is Andrew Westberg, Blue Cheese Steakhouse pool, who some of us have delegated to in the past. Really good guy, really good developer. He's been in the ecosystem from the very beginning. He deserves all the rewards he's getting, all the delegators. I don't begrudge any one of them. But he's now a multi-pool operator, so he's not contributing to decentralization as much as another operator who's just starting out from scratch, because he's controlling more than 64 million ADA. He's got several pools now, so he's controlling a good proportion of the ADA, and that means that if he was to be attacked in any way, and we're not just talking about government coercion, it could be actually thieves go and attack him, target him specifically, and so go after his holdings. He's got a lot of pledge, so maybe they want to steal that from him. So they could actually threaten him as an individual. So it's actually in the interests of us as individuals not to be in control of too much stake as well. And so single operators are great, and that's why it's highlighted on this Explorer, and I think it's a really valuable thing. And they all do it to a certain extent. This one's putting it front and center, whereas you normally have to dig a bit. So these are the metrics that we're talking about. Let me go into one because that'll be easier to see. Let me grab fluid. So the figure here, return on ADA, is 1.5%, and that's over the recent return on investment, because we've had a 5 epochs with no block being assigned to us yet, because we've been a small pool. Every pool above about a million, 1.1, 1.2 million will be getting a block every epoch, and so their return on ADA, recent return on ADA, will be reasonably high. Guys who just mint larger blocks but more infrequently, the small pools, their recent return on ADA will be lower typically. But then you've got this lifetime return on ADA, which for large pools is normally up between sort of about 4%. Some of them get up to about 5. I think the highest return you can see is about 5.5 at the moment. But that's in the perfectly saturated pool, running really optimized with a big pledge and all these sorts of things. And actually the system is designed to spread out that return on investment, so that everybody gets a decent amount. So if you're with a small pool or a large pool, your rewards should be roughly the same. One factor that's skewing that at the moment is that large fixed minimum fee. This 340 ADA means that smaller pools do lose out because that's taken off first. But if there are other things that you're interested, like Fluid Pool does this education, we have this mission, so that makes it worthwhile delegating to Fluid Pool. And other pools have the same sort of incentives. We also give out, ISPO tokens, so Zyber tokens and Gimbal tokens, which are coming as well, which have additional value. So you're getting those for free on top of your ADA rewards. So it's not always just about the ADA rewards. It's also about the additional tokens that people can distribute to. So the other figure that Paul, you were asking about, was this lifetime luck. So that's talking about how lucky that pool has been in terms of being given blocks to mint based on how much ADA they have staked. So at the moment we are algorithmically producing more blocks, minting more blocks than is the system is designed to give us. So we're being lucky. So we're up 113% in luck, and that can go up and down below the 100% without making too much difference. But it's an indicator of, people like luck. It's like, if you think a pool is lucky, then you might hang around it. But it's actually an algorithmic luck. It's based on probability. So it is a real factor that's played into it. And this is one of the security factors built into the blockchain, is that the block assignment is set to be really random, because the more random it is, the less likely is anybody will to figure out when a block's going to be produced by a particular pool. Because if you knew that, then you could attack the pool at the time they're trying to create a block, which means they won't be able to print a block, and so another pool will get that block won't be produced, and the next pool will be elsewhere. And so that way you could actually target a pool operator, bring their business down if you were particularly adversarial towards them for some reason. You could actually attack them this way. And so the luck factor and the probability is built into the algorithms to make sure that it's really random who gets to mint a block when. So it can never be predicted, and attacks can be predicted against. The date the pool was created, how much pledge you've got, how much active pledge you've got. So sometimes you can declare a pledge of, some pools will declare a pledge of 50,000 ADA, but actually they need to spend some on their infrastructure, and so they've only actually got 35,000 ADA staked, and so then that's an issue because they're not meeting their pledge. So that's an indicator that they're not able to maintain the promises they made, which could be a good indicator to go and look elsewhere. The variable fee and the fixed fee. Any other questions on these pool stats? one of the good things to look at is up top here. You can see all the different tokens. So single pool operator, that's the one you saw on the home page on the dashboard as well. But we're a single pool operator. We're a charity. We contribute to the ecosystem. We're also a business. There's a business backing the pool. We distribute extra tokens, so Zyber bugs, Gimbal tokens, and we're also in the XSPO Alliance, which means that we interact with the stake pool owner community. So we're technically supported by others and vice versa. So all these are all good, healthy indicators for a pool. And then this chart shows you the performance of the pool over time. So we launched at epoch 288, which is just off the start of this chart. And we started with an initial pledge of 25,000 ADA. So that was me putting my stake in the ground. This is how much I'm pledging to the pool. Let's see whether that's enough to attract people in. And people started joining. And so then back in March this time, we minted our first block. And then shortly afterwards, we minted our second. Then there was a bit of a drought. I increased the pledge here. We got another block. And then we've had them a bit more regular since then. But we are in another drought at the moment. So with this increased rotation delegation, we're up to 940,000 ADA. So hopefully we'll get a good run of blocks soon. I was expecting one by now, to be honest. But our luck has come down from about 130 down to 113. So that's one of the how that luck factor reflects on your performance in terms of minting blocks, and gives you an indicator that it's been a while since they've minted a block. So and that's one thing that I pointed out to people is actually if you find a pool that's really unlucky, chances are they're going to start minting blocks. If they've got a decent amount of stake, chances are they're going to be minting blocks, and because they've had a drought for a while, the blocks they mint will be larger. So that could be a good way to bump up your percentage return if you're hopping pools. But yeah, I don't mind people hopping pools as long as you're delegating somewhere. That's my desire. And if you delegate with us, and I'll be even happier with you. But I fully support my other operators, particularly those in the XSP Alliance. Technically savvy. Most of them have missions that they're contributing towards, and they're all more. So when they joined, they had below 1 million ADA, and so they're supporting each other. They're interested in decentralization, and that's a good indicator that a pool is here to stay and help the ecosystem grow. Any more questions on that, Paul?
No. I think it's time if someone else gets in.
Yeah. Anybody got any other topics they want to talk about? Anything they want to discuss? Even if you're just introducing yourself, great to hear.
Hi, Jonathan. Sorry, no, nothing to add. I just want to let you know that I'm going to be dropping off the call now. But thanks, that was really, really interesting. About the stake pool operators. And I just want to say I'm really happy staking my Cardano with you.
Thanks, Archie.
Stake some more as well.
Excellent. Before you jump off it, how's your property stuff gone? Have you managed to? You were selling one, weren't you?
My HMO has sold, and I've got one of my buy-to-lets on the market.
Excellent.
So fingers. Yeah, it's been. I mean, August is a slow time, to be honest, in the property market. So I'm hoping that it will kind of pick up again in September. And if it doesn't sell, then I'll just continue renting it out. So.
Cool. Okay, but yeah, you've got one done, so that's very good.
Yes. Yeah. That's really good.
Well done.
Okay. Have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks, Archie.
Thanks. Bye.
See you. Bye. And actually, if they're no further questions, nothing you want to work on particularly now, then I might jump off as well because I have got a full house. You can probably hear my dog in the background giving somebody grief for arriving. Might cut off early today. Is everyone okay with that?
Great. Thanks, Simon.
Cracking.
Yeah, fine with me. One of those months in the UK.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you survive it, Robin, and you're able to get some stuff done as well as look after the kids, and you get some holiday time as well.
Yeah, all a big mashup. It's good though.
Yeah. It's good to be flexible at sometimes. Right then. I'll see you all next week. It should be a bit more back to normal.
Thanks,
Simon.
Ian.
All right. Thanks all. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thanks, bye.